It's your brother Isaiah again with another one for the conscious brothers and the conscious sisters and the conscious community, keeping the struggle because we know it's through the struggle we grow. Also, I like to say that it is, in fact, a slow process for progress and that the race is not to the swift, it's to those who can remain dutiful. So make sure you stay in this for the long haul. Y'all already know these videos never constitute legal advice. I'm not a legal counsel. I'm not an attorney. I'm just your brother sharing with you education and information about my walks and about my travels throughout my journey called life. I like to extend these honors to you. Because when you're honoring man and woman, you're honoring yourself. Let me give adoration and acknowledgement to Allah, the head, the temple of my life, and extend that same love, courtesy, and acknowledgement to all his messengers and prophets. Peace to all of you. Beloved brothers and sisters in grand rising to the indigenous people of the Americas. How y'all doing? I'm blessed. I'm taking everything in step stages and degrees, constantly unfolding in the womb of these two different worlds. I got a great video for you guys today. I'm gonna go into transfer of negotiable instruments. I'm gonna talk a little bit about negotiable instruments and stuff. And like I told you, like y'all need to go get y'all a good business book. All right, this one right here is by Anderson Fox. I found this book like maybe probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I found this book, but showing it on video so other people can get a chance to read. Like when I first started my journey, I didn't know a lot about business. I didn't know that like civil court, constitution, all that is pertaining to business until I got a business law book. When I got a business law book and I started reading in it, the first thing that popped up was the Constitution. It started talking about constitutional laws, start talking about admiralty, these different clauses in the Constitution that allows them to do business or to create a commercial venue in which we are actually in right now. It's a commercial venue. Now, when they say that the laws of the sea have moved upon the land, meaning that they're using the laws of the sea laws are laws of interest where see God always said that we never supposed to gain an interest over your brother. We're supposed to be equal. We're not supposed to have titles or none of that type stuff, right? But when the laws of the sea, the law merchant took over the land, they start changing everything. They went from common law, natural law, divine law to the laws of the sea. So let me give you an example of what I mean by that. So in common law, you have to actually hurt somebody physically or do physical damage directly to that person or to that person's property. And that is considered a crime by natural law. But at sea, it's a little bit different. They don't actually need a damaged party in order to consider something as criminal when you're operating at sea because sea deals with the law merchant. It's dealing with something more of a commercial venue, contract, agreement. Anytime you're dealing with civil matters, it's always going to be dealing with contracts and agreements. They can call it criminal, but it's a contract because civil is always a contract. You can't never have a civil case as a criminal case. When I don't even know how they've been even getting it off on us. Like we really been, they really got us under a real spell because you can actually just Google civil and you'll see that it's dealing with business. So how are they saying your son, your daughter committed a crime in a civil court? It just goes to show you how naive we've been, how we so entertained by television and sports, all that's to distract you so that you can never pay attention to terms, legal courts, what civil courts are, never really trip off what civil mean. All these different things is to keep you pacified, keep you pampered, spoiled, so you can never even inherit your gifts. That was your inheritance. A lot of us, the reason why we poor, reason why we don't have nothing, because we don't even know how to claim the estates of our ancestors. We got grandfathers, grandmothers, we got aunts and uncles who just passed away recently. And nobody in the family is claiming those estates. The state is having a ball with your family's estates. We could be claiming it. You could be claiming that, getting that back from the state, making sure it has no debts, and then you got freehold interest. And but if they never taught it to us, we'll never know. So a lot of us is we in positions where we qualify to do other things, but if we have no knowledge of those things, we can't benefit from it. So that's why it's important that brothers like me, sisters and stuff that's out here teaching, that's out here enlightening the public, that we continue to do what we're doing, because eventually people gonna start catching on. And because I know you think somebody that's gonna come on here for 2, 3 years, 4, 5 years in a row and keep talking about negotiable instruments, your rights to credit. I'm insane, or either I know the truth and I'm trying to make sure you understand that this stuff is not fake, it's real, and that you have to actually wrap your mind around it in order to really comprehend it. Now I'm gonna read something. It's talking about transfer of negotiable instruments. It says negotiation is the process whereby a negotiable instrument is transferred so that the transferee becomes the holder. So a negotiable instrument is anytime an instrument is delivered to somebody, so that person who receives that instrument becomes the holder of that instrument. So when you receive an instrument from a gas company, a water company, they're actually presenting that to the natural man in his legal name, because legally you do business as a legal person, but you are a living person. So when they issue the bill, they know that a legal person can't receive a bill. So when they deliver that, they're delivering it to you, the representative. And it's just in the name that you're representing. But most of us have been induced to believe that that person is us. So we gotta kind of wake up a little bit, man. We kind of been asleep for a while. Now it says a negotiable instruments are transferred by a process known as negotiation. Negotiation is the transfer of a negotiable instrument so that the transferee becomes the holder. Now the effects of a transfer: when a contract is assigned, the transferee has the rights of the transferor, right? And the transferee is entitled to enforce the contract, but the assignee, right, has no greater rights than the assigner, right? The assignee is in the same position as the original party to the contract and is subject to any defenses that could be asserted in suit on an assigned contract, right? So when you receive a contract, the assigner is the company that's assigning that right to you to receive a mortgage, to receive a lease. All right, somebody has to assign that to you. Okay, you have to receive it as an assignee. So you are the original assignee of the pledge. It's originally assigned to you. Okay, then when you receive it, you receive all the same rights, the same obligations that the one who transferred it to you had. You got to really listen to what I'm saying, because this is contracts. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, you're gonna always be liable, because you don't understand how somebody else is transferring his obligation to you. Okay, and you're not understanding that you're receiving somebody's obligation. So when you receive a pledge of an obligation and you sign it, you are now the assignee. Now, the thing about the assignee is that the assignee inherits all the obligations of the assigner. Okay? So when he delivers that to you, he transfers everything to you. Even his obligation to perform goes to you. So if he originally was supposed to pay you something, and he transferred the total document to you, he transferred that right to pay you too. So if you accept it and you became the new transferee, which now you hold all the rights he had, guess what? Now you got to pay what he was supposed to pay because you received his transfer. Now, if in fact you, as the assignee, was to endorse that same instrument, then you will become the assignor, right? So the way this works is if he assigned a right to 50,000 to me and I sign it, I receive all the rights to the 50,000 and the obligation to pay it, just like he had when it was due to me from him. If I endorse it to another person, then my obligation that I accepted for him to perform is now being transferred to another person. Instead of me accepting the rights to perform what he's offering to me, I gave the right to somebody else. So now when he receives that from me, he can accept it from me. And now the person who originally made the original offer is on the hook. He's on the hook because he still is liable on the instrument because I never accepted his liability. Instead, I transferred his liability to somebody else, and now they can collect directly from him. All right, but that's just one aspect of me giving you an idea of how this works. Right now, I read this. When a negotiable instrument is transferred by negotiation, the transferee becomes the holder of the paper. The holder who meets certain additional requirements may also be a holder in due course. Okay. The status of a holder in due course gives immunity for certain defenses that may have been asserted against the transferor, right? So when you receive an instrument as the assignee, if you were to do the right thing with the instrument, you can become the holder in due course because anytime an instrument is delivered to you, it's delivered to you as the one who's they're making that offer to. They're giving you the rights to take possession of the instrument and anything that it covers, right? Now, if you was to take that instrument and you were to do the right things with it, instead of you holding an interest in it, you will become the holder in due course. All right. So a person having an interest in property versus a person being a holder in due course is totally different. When a person has an interest, he just has a beneficial right. But when a person is holding the right in something, that means that he has control of it. So in order to have control, right, you must be the one that is holding the right to the document. Okay. Now, definition of the negotiation. Negotiation is the transfer of a negotiable instrument, right, in such a way that the transferee becomes the holder. The holder is different from the possessor, right, or the assignee of the paper. The holder is the transferee in possession of an instrument that runs to him or her, right? And instrument runs to a party if it is payable to his or her order, is endorsed to him or her, is bearer paper, right? So I've been studying this for a long time, right? And you know how we've been trying to figure out what bearer paper is, like pay to the order of the bearer, and we try to deliver it to them and say, hey, pay to this bearer paper. Well, bearer paper is like when you are the assignee. The assignee is the person who's being assigned a right, or you can call yourself the assignee or your legal person as the payee. So we are the assignee. The natural man, whenever he receives a pledge to his legal person, you're the assignee. The legal person is the payee in the terms of the instrument. You must understand the roles because, see, you got to really study to learn this. All right. And anything I'm giving you, it's only because I know I've studied, I put the work in. And that's why I'm able to bring this to you with all sincerity in clarity in where you can understand exactly what I'm talking about. So it's always two persons. It's a legal person and a natural person in every transaction. The legal person is the legal identity or character that plays out in the agreement. He's always going to be in the agreement. The character, the legal person, will always be the one perpetrated in the agreement. The assignee for that person will always be the signer, the one who's signing and accepting and giving the document back on behalf of the named person in the contract, whether or not you believe that's you or not. Okay. Now, let me read this one more time because it got a lot of juice in it, and I'm going to break it down to you what it's saying. So it says negotiation is the transfer of a negotiable instrument in such a way that the transferee becomes the holder. So we're going to look at this in the sense to where they're transferring something to us. Okay. We're not going to look at it as if we're transferring something to them, because the transferee, listen to these terms, man. And I'm doing this because I love us, man. We deserve to know the truth, man. We deserve, each and every last one of us deserve a fair chance. For the simple fact we was all lied to. No, not one of us is better than the next man. And we are all here to serve each other. And when we fail in that design, we fail as a people, because we should be one for each other what we want for ourselves. Facts. So when an instrument is delivered to you, okay, listen to me closely, and you receive it from a corporation, you are the assignee. When you take an instrument and you deliver it to a corporation, they are the holder. In some references, they act as an assignee for the benefit of you, but they're not the assignee. You are. Whenever they act as an assignee, they're acting for the benefit of the real creditor, which is you. So they could never be the assignee. You know why? Because the assignee is also the payee. He's also the payee. So they could never be the payee if they are the ones obligated to provide the amounts to the payee, right? So let me read this. Now, so when they negotiate, right? Negotiation is where the instrument is delivered to the assignee in such a way that you become the holder. They deliver it to you in such a way that automatically you become the holder of it, right? And then it says the holder is different from a possessor or an assignee of paper. I mean, my bad, I read that wrong. Negotiation is the transfer of a negotiable instrument in such a way that the transferee becomes the holder, right? So when they transfer the instrument to you, you are the transferee. But the instrument, when it's transferred to you, is transferred to you in such a way that automatically you become the holder. You acquire ownership. See, we are really the assignee, but when we sign, we also acquire ownership, which makes us a holder because we're holding ownership. So even though it's being assigned to you, you are also considered as a holder, okay? Because you're holding the rights of ownership, okay? So you're two parts. You're an assignee and a holder of a negotiable instrument, okay? Now you know that. Keep that in mind. Let's keep going. Now, it says a holder is different from a possessor or an assignee of paper. So a holder is different from somebody who actually is in possession of paper. An assignee is just somebody who was assigned paper, but he might not actually hold the rights in the paper that he has in his possession. So just because you got something in your possession doesn't necessarily make it, just because you're holding something. Let me say it like this. Just because you're holding something
doesn't necessarily make you a possessor of it. I'm gonna say it again. And please listen to me because I'm trying to and get them likes up. I got 43 people and 14 likes. Stop playing with me, man. Get them likes up. Uh how so when you hold something like a piece of paper, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are in possession of what the document is talking about. It just means you're possessing something or you're holding something that gives you the right to maybe possess something else, but you don't take possession of it. Okay. I'm still waiting on them likes to go up. I got 15, only one person. Y'all get them likes up. I got 41 people. At least you have 41 likes. Y'all gonna have to do better now. Do better. Because I'm giving out great information. I deserve to get those likes up, man. Get them likes up. And if you don't get the likes up, then I'm just gonna put this on a halt because y'all need to start like pushing like, man, when y'all get on this thing, man. Give consideration, man. Give consideration. Cause y'all ain't being considerate to all the other people that's on here that's that really want this information. They willing to give full consideration. All the man asks for is a like. He ain't asking you to send them a dime. He just said like his video, especially if you're gonna watch it. If you're gonna watch my video, at least you can do is say, damn, let me give him a like. I like what he's doing. If you don't like what I'm doing, then I should have 18 people and 18 likes. It shouldn't be 40 people on here and 19 likes. That means that either y'all ain't here to support me for real, so that means you need to get off, and only the people that's really here to support me should be the ones listening to what I have to say. Period. Because it don't make sense for y'all to be on here if you ain't giving consideration. I'm about to get ready to close it out because you ain't giving consideration. Y'all messing it up for everybody else. All you other individuals that want to be on my live, but you don't never want to hit the like button. You don't want to share my videos, but you want to be on here and suck up all my information. You know what I'm saying? That all that's gonna come to a halt. That's the reason why you ain't been getting no videos. That's the reason why you ain't been seeing me come on the live. Cause all y'all do is suck up information and run around like it's y'all or y'all created the information when y'all ain't nothing but vampires, just like the rest of these people that's sucking us dry. Y'all pick up all they same ways and do the exact same things that they do. And call yourself brothers and sisters and stuff like that, man. That stuff is crazy. Ain't none of y'all really really even breaking down stuff to the people what they really need to know. Y'all steady telling them they owe taxes. Taxes is something that's owed to the government. Why you telling people that they monthly bills is taxes? If you owe the tax, the IRS will be sending you bills. So either you lack understanding, you haven't studied enough to really understand the difference between a tax and a non-tax debt, and you telling somebody that a non-tax debt is a tax because you don't understand what a tax is. You know what I'm saying? Just because something is due to the government doesn't necessarily mean it's a tax. You see what I'm saying? It could be a non-tax, but it can still be due to the government because it's an obligation of the government. But a lot of y'all got these people filing 1099s and talking about it's a tax situation, and a lot of stuff that y'all call it taxes is not even taxes. I can guarantee you that a credit agreement is not a tax. I can guarantee you that it's credit. It's the rights to consume something. It's not taxable. You're only being taxed because you allow somebody to misrepresent what you mean, but you're not. Man, I'm trying to tell you, they lying to you. If you was being taxed by the government, the IRS would be the one sending you. If you ever paid government taxes, you know who send you the bills. Stop playing. Your your monthly bill is not a government tax. That's an individual tax. That's an individual obligation. It's a difference. It's a difference in the individual obligation and the government obligation. So y'all need to go reconsider a lot. I mean, and I see so many people teaching that we owe taxes to the government and all this stuff. Taxes are voluntary. You don't owe no. You don't owe no. I've never filed a tax in my life. You don't owe a tax. You don't. I'm just being real with you. But you gotta know that. It's voluntary compliance. Now, if you contract and then you don't withdraw, your application that you originally put in for taxes, then they're gonna say you owe them. They're gonna come after you because you entered into the program, the tax program. Just the same way with the DMV. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, you don't need you need a license. You really don't need no license." But they make it to the point to where they make it so hard for you to purchase cars and stuff without one. It's almost like everything that they do is pretty much an inducement, or they do it by force. If you don't do this, we won't sell you a car. So it's like a force play. It's a indirect force against you to make you comply with something that's unlawful in order to gain or reign over you or have control over the situation. So you got to understand that, man. You got to understand that a lot of things that's happening is all deceptive. It's all assumed authority, and you assume that they have it and they don't. All right. Especially if you believe that God created every man free, that you have a free will, you're not bound to no man. Or if you really think about it, the courts, the police station, the grocery stores, everything you can think of is done by man. That all that's man-made from codes, statutes, UCC books. This is all man-made stuff. This is all made by man. All right, and man-made law is not law. It's not law because it's rules, policies. Because as a man, I can create my own rules and policies for my own life. I don't need you to come tell me how to run my structure. I can set it up. I come up with my own curriculum and every day live in accordance to that and make sure I respect my brother and my neighbors and stuff and respect my elders and my parents. I can live by that. That's an easy thing to live by, right? So we're not subject to another man's law, meaning no, I can't make a law, call it the people's remedy paradise, and then accept citizenship, make my corporation retroactive to all the other corporations where they have to register through me in order to even get a corporation, and then indirectly seek control over each and every man and woman through the guise of a legal person. So now you got to register through my corporation in order to acquire citizenship, and all this stuff that they doing is not, it's not conducive. Like most of us don't even know we got two citizenships, you know, and one it's only one citizenship. There's only one citizenship you really have, and that's an American citizen. If you're born in America, you are an American citizen. That's the reason why when you get your citizenship card from the embassy, it identifies you as a man. It ain't got no legal name on it. That's a surname and given name on that card. It ain't violating your privacy. Ain't no address nowhere on that card. That's a nationality card. Only thing it got is America, and it got the state where you have nationality to. You are Missouri. You are Illinois. That's the only thing that's on there. Prima facie evidence that you are an American national. So that's the only thing that proves in their system that they recognize you as a man. Then you got a secondary citizenship. The secondary citizenship is corporate citizenship, meaning the United States is the service corporation for all Americans. All Americans are served through the US. So when we want to purchase services and stuff, we had to have an artificial person, a artificial creature at law. Why? Because the United States is only corporate. So it's the contemplation of corporate laws, rules, regulations. So when you think of the United States, you think of a fake world made by man, his ideas, his ideologies, all right, which makes the characters, the persons being charged in that jurisdiction corporate, legal entity. So U.S. citizenship is actually a shareholders or an employee's benefit plan. So you are a shareholder. The main corporation that we all are have allegiance to is the United States Service Corporation. So every person that's doing any type of business in the United States under any kind of person, legal name, corporation, has allegiance to the United States because the United States is the service provider of all legal persons. Okay? I want you to keep that in mind. They are the service providers of all these persons, which gives them a direct interest. And every person that's created domestically owes an allegiance to the US domestically, right? So when you're utilizing uh, the US person, your birth certificate acts as a shareholder certificate, and it tells the name of the shareholder in in the system. So in the system, the shareholder name will be John Henry Doe, but it will tell you that the child's name. The reason why I'm saying the child, because the name is identifying a person, but on the birth certificate it tells you that it's a child. So it lets you know that it's a partnership. It's a partnership because it's saying a child, and it got the child over here. It's in proper English, child's name, and then it got all caps for the name. So that's letting you know that even though this is a legal person, this legal person represents a natural child, right? So understanding that and knowing what the certificate represents, anytime you receive shares from a corporation or a right to shares, it's starting to make sense now when you think of the fact that you are a shareholder and that the legal person is your basically it's your enterprise that you acquire all your shares throughout your life, and then you can transfer the interest on those shares to your beneficiaries and benefactors when you die. But you are actually a shareholder, and anytime you receive shares from a corporation where he's offering shares of his entity to yours, you can accept those shares and deliver your shareholder certificate to show that you are in fact the correct shareholder, and you can claim those shares through that other entity in order to. And this is real talk. All right, in so many different ways you can look at this thing, but in totality, you are a shareholder, and that every debt you receive is is shares. It's shares that you're receiving. That's why it's always what in amount due, because those are shares, okay, that are due to the principle of the legal person, because the legal person is a enterprise. But let me get back to this real quick. So, so a holder is different from a possessor or an assignee of paper. So when somebody holds something, they're not considered as just an assignee or somebody who just got something in their possession, right? So it says a holder is a transferee in possession of an instrument that runs to him or her. Now, when you say run, they say that a holder is a person that's in possession of an instrument that runs to him or to her. Now, it used the word run. Have you ever looked up the legal definition of the word run? RUN? Because you might think it's talking about actually running. See, that's the thing. We so naive. We so naive. We think we understand everything. We hear a word, we think we know what it means because we thinking of running. No, this is illegal. So if an instrument runs to you, don't you think you want to know what the legal definition of run means? Because that'll help you better understand when an instrument is running to your order. Maybe they didn't teach you what run means. So when an instrument runs to your order, could that mean that it's due to you? Could run be another word for due or Mountain Dew? See, but what if you don't know that? See, if you don't know that and you read something like this, you wouldn't know what the hell it's talking about. You'll be lost. So let me read this again. Let me read it again. It says, so a holder is a transferee in possession of an instrument that runs to him or her, right? So we know it's talking about a man or a woman because it can't be talking about a corporation. So the holder that it's talking about is a man or a woman because it says the instrument runs to him or to her. So that lets you know it's talking about a natural person. Okay, let's bring it home. Let's bring it home. Now, it says an instrument runs to a party. It runs to a party if it is payable to his or her order, is endorsed to him or her, or is bearer paper, right? So if an instrument is payable to you, right, right, you're considered as the holder. So if I get a check from my job and it says pay to Isaiah Bay, I'm the holder of that instrument because it's payable to me, right? If an instrument is payable to somebody else and it's signed in blank on the back and it's given to me, I'm considered as a holder because I'm holding the instrument in blank. It's not payable to anybody. It's signed in blank. So anybody can use that instrument just by endorsing it, which makes me a holder. All right. And then it says, or if the instrument is uh bearer paper, meaning that on its face is payable to the bearer, right? So let me give you an example. Another word for payable is due. Due and payable are inexchangeable. When something is due, it's also payable. When something is payable, it is also due. So the deception, so you would know that you was receiving payment, is to not say pay to your order. Instead of them making instruments payable to your order, it would be quite naturally that you would knew you were receiving a check. So they use the inexchangeable phrase, due to you, to indirectly throw you off. So you would know that you was receiving funds. And then they indoctrinated you that when something is due, it means you have to pay it directly. So automatically from the television, the movies, we start doing what we was seeing on these. So, and then we have an impairment because now we can't really interpret legal terms. But it was all done by indoctrination, right? But we coming up out that slumber every day, right? Now, so now you know that when something is due to you, when something is payable to you, or something is held by you in blank, then you are considered as the holder of that document, right? Now, how negotiation occurs? The order or the bearer character of an instrument, right? The order or the bearer character of of paper determines how it may be negotiated, right? The order or the bearer character of an instrument is determined in accordance to the words of negotiation used in chapter 31. For completion, discuss discussion of the order and bearer words of negotiation. The chapter of instruments is determined as to the time to take place without regards as to the chapter of the instrument originally or at the time of the transfer, right? So it's basically saying what makes the instruments negotiable is either pay to the order or either pay to the bearer, right? Just using those words in an instrument is what makes the instrument a negotiable instrument, right? Now it says any bearer instrument is negotiable merely by transfer of possession. Bearer paper is negotiated to a person taking possession of it without regards to whether such possession is lawful, because delivery of a bearer instrument is effective negotiation. It is possible for a thief or embezzling officer to transfer title to an instrument. Their presence in the chain of transfer does not affect the right of those who have the bearer instrument in good faith. So if you was to receive a bill, right, where an amount was due to you coming from a service provider, and you was to just turn that instrument over or attach another piece of paper to it and just sign the back of the instrument, your name and your number and the date, and was to send that in with a notice to another party saying you are signing that instrument to them, that is considered as a negotiation, because when you sign the back of that, that's considered as a bearer instrument because on the front it already has an endorsement. What do you mean, brother Isaiah? I thought we had to endorse the instruments. Well, whenever you're selected as a transferee or somebody who is being assigned a right of performance, they already make you the payee in the instrument. So as the payee, listed in the instrument, the amounts are being assigned to you and the instrument is being delivered to you, that is considered as a proposal. So when you receive a proposal, right, you're receiving what is known as an endorsement. You don't know that because you don't understand endorsement is not just when you sign the back of an instrument. Endorsement is when you are being selected to do a specific task concerning an instrument. That is also considered as an endorsement. So if you already been endorsed already, all you got to do as the payee written into the endorsement is sign the back of the instrument and deliver it, right? Because it's already endorsed to you, right? So, but most people won't teach it to you in that sense because they think of endorsement only as, oh, pay to the order, Johnny. We don't know. That's not the only form of endorsement. Endorsement is when you're being selected to do a specific duty or when your name has been written in a certain performance and you're obligated under that performance through what we call endorsement. All right. So I just gave you another way of looking at each bill you get every month because you already endorsed. You know what I'm saying? And all you got to do is know how to handle your business, man, in order to transfer a right or a title that you have. Right now, I'm gonna read like one or two more things, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get on up off here, right? But it says the type of instruments that qualify as bearer instruments includes those payable to the bearer, as well as those payable to the order of cash or payable in blank, right? It says a loan the bearer instrument may be negotiated by mere transfer of possession. The one to whom the instrument is delivered may insist that the bearer endorse the paper. This situation most commonly arises when checks payable to cash is presented to a bank for payment, or the reason a transferee of a bearer paper would want an endorsement is to obtain the protection of the endorser's warranty from the bearer. So what it's saying is a lot of times the reason why they would want you to sign is so that they can have somebody that they can hold liable to performance of that instrument. So like if you was to deliver an instrument payable to the bearer and you didn't sign it, a lot of times they'll return it for endorsement. They saying that they want somebody to accept liability for non-performance, or if something was to go wrong, they want somebody to be liable, right? So a lot of times that's why a lot of times you'll have issues like endorsing checks for cash and doing certain things, right? You have, even though it's permitted that you can do that, right? Now it says a negotiable instrument that is payable to the order of a specific party is order paper. So if I got an instrument from a company, I'm gonna say a water company. I got a water bill and it got my legal name on it and it's being endorsed. I'm being endorsed for a due amount for the 5th of January. And I've been endorsed saying that this amount is due. So I know that it's accurate and that the amount is available because they're telling me that it's due and that it's available. It's an available balance. So I want to pay the balance. I can pay the balance simply just by endorsing the bill because the front of the bill is already endorsed to me. It's just like a check saying $250 is due, but it's not written in that way. This is a different form of endorsement. You're being endorsed to do something. And long as your name is written in the front of the terms of that endorsement, whether it's to make payment, whether it's to do whatever it is, it's still considered as an endorsement. All you got to do is sign the back of the instrument. That's all that's really required. So in order for you to transfer, right, order paper, right, it has to be negotiated through endorsement. So anytime you receive a check from a job and it says pay to the order of your name, that instrument can only be cashed in by endorsement because it's an order paper, right? So it got to be signed to be cashed in. All right. So remember, I said that when something is due to you, it's also payable to you. So when you receive a bill due to you, it's actually saying pay to your order. It's almost like order paper. So you're being ordered to make payment, even though it's not saying pay to the order. Okay, it's still an order to pay, and it has to be endorsed to be transferred. You get what I'm saying? So when you understand that, you can actually do what you need to do in order to transfer rights. Now, it says endorsements vary according to the method of signing and the words used along with the signature. The nature of an endorsement also affects the future of the instrument in terms of requirements for further negotiation, right? So, depending on how you endorse the instrument, would determine how the instrument is negotiated in the future, right? So you got what's known as a special endorsement. It consists of the signature of the endorser in words specifying the person to whom the endorser makes the instrument payable. That is the endorsee. So if I was signing this instrument over to Bank of America, and I knew Bank of America was going to be the assignee that's going to hold my instrument, then I would, in order to make the instrument payable to them, then I would do an endorsement on the back of that instrument upon delivering the instrument to that company. Because the front of the instrument is the order, it's the terms, it's the agreement. The back of the instrument is the instructions, is how you want the instrument processed. So if I'm the CFO of Bank of America and you open up a new account and you want me to know certain things, you would write that on the document of title. Meaning on the back of that document that you issue or you sign, you will say whatever you want to say because that got to come to my office. That document specifically got to get delivered to my office because we have to scan that. We have to, you know what I'm saying? Because it's an administrative process. So if any owner of the document wants to deliver instructions, he always puts the instructions on the backside. That's how it goes in every transaction. Even when you writing a check, when you do the endorsement, we was only taught that all we supposed to do is sign the back. But really, when you sign the back of them checks, you're supposed to be doing other stuff. You're supposed to be saying stuff, how you want the check, what you want done. But because they never taught you what's actually happening when you signing checks into the bank account, you never do nothing because you don't even know what's going on. You just think you giving the bank the check and they're giving you money. You don't know what's going on. So you always just sign over stuff, not knowing what's going on because we are uninformed, right? Now, you got, it says, while words of negotiability are required on the front of a negotiable instrument, it is not necessary that endorsement contains the word order or bearer. It says consistently, the paper endorsed as shown in figure 3.2 above, right? It said is a special endorsement. In contrast, the inclusion of notation indicating the debt to be paid is not a special endorsement, right? So it says usually words of negotiation are usually done on the front of an instrument. So if you're trying to negotiate credit, if you're trying to have an instrument used for settlement, all that stuff right there is usually written on the front of the instrument, right? And then the back of the instrument is just for mere pure endorsement of that order or whatever you're trying to do. Now it says a qualified endorsement is one that qualifies the effects of blank or special endorsements by disclaiming certain liabilities of the endorser to to maker or draw. This disclaimer is given by using a phrase without recourse. So, like say for instance, if you're the maker of a check, but you put the check in the name of your legal person. All right. So you write a check out to the order of John Henry Doe in all caps. You say that it's for a monthly bill or whatever, and then you sign it as authorized representative, and above your signature you put without recourse. All right. So basically, what you're saying is I'm issuing this for the legal person, but I'm not accepting any recourse for non-payment. If this instrument don't process, I'm demanding recourse. That's why you make a copy of the instrument. Why? Because if they say non-payment, then as a natural person, you would do a dispute of non-payment. You would do a protest. You would go before a notary public, and you would protest non-payment. You would identify yourself as a natural man uh, who has legal authority over the legal person, and then you issue the check for payment on behalf of the legal person in which you are the principal owner. And the instrument was received and accepted and not paid. And the bank will become liable to pay that because they can't hold a natural person liable for a legal person's obligation. See what I'm saying? Especially if you've already did endorsement. So, but it's just a matter of people understanding because they'll make you believe that you're liable when you're not. Okay. So so you got many different types of endorsements, man. You got special endorsement, you got a qualified endorsement, you have what's known as a restrictive endorsement, where you can restrict how the instrument is used. So say for instance, right, you wanted to write an instrument to uh 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 pay something off. And you wrote the instrument up. You can give a restricted endorsement on the instrument, meaning that when you endorse the instrument, you can say for deposit only, or you can say uh, not for debit or credit for settlement only. You can specify that the instrument is not to be deposited or credited in any way. It's only to be used as a specified sums that's owed towards a certain agreement. You can actually do that, and they gotta accept that. Because if you owe a balance and you have the rights to pay it, you can present it in any form. And they got to accept that as formal payment as long as it matches what is owed. So I'm just trying to give it to you because this is stuff that we really all need to know, right? And that's what a restrictive endorsement is for. A restrictive endorsement is to restrict further negotiations of the instrument. Like, have you ever wrote a check for payment or for EFT, you specified EFT and all that on the check, and then when you sent it in, they did an ACH. And you'd be like, wait a minute, I ain't y'all process an ACH. I wrote on there specifically EFT, but when I go check my bank, it said that y'all did an ACH debit. The reason why they do that is because you're sending a negotiable instrument. So if you say do a EFT is an ACH, it's a wire transfer, or it's an electronic funds transfer. So when you say do an EFT, you're leaving that open for negotiations. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because it's more than one way to do an electronic funds transfer. So some people will get mad. They be like, man, I said EFT. Well, I told my partner the other day, I said, well, they did do an EFT. They did an electronic funds transfer. And he thought about it like, dang, man, you so right. I say, yeah, law is very specific. So if you don't specify in full detail on what you're trying to do, then you leaving room for somebody to, assume that this is what you want done, right? So, a lot of things that you're dealing with, you're only dealing with them is because you haven't really, really paid attention to what position you hold. You know what I'm saying? You got to understand the principal position is very unique position because you get the chance to choose which side you want to be on. And what I mean by that, as a legal person, you can act as the individual itself and claim that you are a natural person as that individual, claiming your natural identity through that name, or you can act as an agent, incorporate the name, and treat it as a corporation in which you have full control over and navigate the waters in that way. So you have two choices, but in either which way that you operate the name, me myself, a lot of people like LLCs and all of that, but I like sole proprietorships. I like that because a natural person is tax exempt. He's not obligated to any government, any commercial. So if I was to create uh A sole proprietorship, I have a business appearance, but my status will still be a natural person, which will give me the benefits of all the rights of a man and all the rights and status of a business. So I'm killing two birds with one stone. But you got to know how to use that entity. You got to know how to create the agreement surrounding that entity to assert that tax exemption status. You see what I'm saying? And each and every last one of us can do that. A lot of people say, oh, well, you get a 508 trust. Well, you can actually create a 508 trust out of your individual name. You know what I'm saying? If you know what you're doing. With and you know, a lot of people tell you, well, you need to get a EIN number in order to operate the trust or whatever. Do you gotta uh do you gotta select the service number? If you gotta select the service number, you can create a trust and you can use that number as the identifier for the trust. Man, do you know you can create a trust and for your number for your trust, you can use any identifier that links to that name as the number for that trust for that entity. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, man, when you understand that it ain't no limits to what you can and what you can't do when you operate, and I think that, you know, when you operate in the taxpayer as an estate, when you operate it from that standpoint, you actually don't hold any liability because you're saying that you're just an agent or somebody representing an entity that's basically being controlled by another. I'm representing this entity on behalf of the United States, which is good because then you are removed from liability, right? But as a sole proprietor, you have full liability. You're solely responsible for everything. Well, guess what? Also, you got full autonomy. You got solving rights, meaning that you are not bound to no other institution, none of the rules, none of the regulations. As long as you run your company right, you have full autonomy, security interests, whatever, because it's something that you created. It's something that you made. It ain't something that you using that was made by them. It's something that you took and you put into manifestation. It was an act done by you, which gives you sole autonomy, but you're solely responsible. But if you think about the book, it said it'll bless a child who can hold his own. So it ain't about not holding yours. It's about being able to accept what's yours and be able to control it, be responsible for it, and manage it for your life living. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just like me not wanting to control my kids. That's what's wrong with us. We want to give all our responsibility to everybody else. We want to give our kids to the school. We want them to go learn here. We don't want to teach them ourselves. We're not qualified to teach them. But we're supposed to be smart. We're supposed to be their parents. We put everything off on everybody else. The blessings of life is when you accept your own responsibility. See, your children is subject to somebody else's teaching. So if they go in that school and they learn some bull crap that indoctrinate their mind, then whose fault is it? Is it their fault or is it the parenting fault for allowing them to go through a system that they knew wasn't right for them in the first place? You didn't even like the system when you went through it.